have there been cases of information, remains, blood samples, where it's not of human origin and it's not of an animal origin?
I don't know.
And we don't know what it is.
I don't know. I wish I knew, though, because I've done a lot of studies on Bigfoot and cryptids, which are Loch Ness Monster, chupacabras. It's things that scientists haven't seen yet, so it's considered not real. But other people will swear, no, it exists. I would love to find some samples of that, bones even. I mean, because I can look at bones and tell you a lot about them and say, okay, well, this is this type, or maybe it's a marsupial or a mucilid or stuff. But no, I personally haven't run across anything that's unexplainable yet. But I'm a scientist. I'm not a skeptical scientist. I'm a hopeful scientist.
What about light orbs? You know, they say decedent sometimes remains at a property in a light orb, and then this is the decedent's essence, spirit. You know, if we're all energy and matter and we don't really actually cease, there's parts of us remain. So how do you explain these light orbs? Or maybe that's not part of what you do, but if you were to write it into something, remains that things that are still in the atmosphere that you can't explain whether they're human, animal, but they're of some nature. There's of some substance there. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm probably not explaining myself.
No. It's a subject that I love, actually. I love paranormal and things like that. And I always say I'm a scientist, so take this with a grain of salt. If something coalesces out of nowhere and goes and then disappears, it still came from somewhere. It still did something. I will not say that orbs don't exist because I've seen them in film. I'm not saying that they weren't made up, but why not? Why not? I've seen many dead bodies. I've only seen a handful of people pass away, mostly family members. I've never experienced that myself, but I had experiences as a child that had to do with lights and colors and things like that I can't explain. I do have a funny one, though. I finally figured it out, though. I sleep canatonically sometimes. I dream and I incorporate what I see in my dreams, so I think I'm watching ghosts walking around the room. And then when I wake up, I find out that I had been asleep with my eyes open. I just found that out a few years ago because my wife had caught me. So there are scientific explanations for everything as far as I'm concerned. If there is no scientific explanation, we just don't know what the scientific explanation is yet.
So in a script, how would someone determine that it's a big question mark? Or is that in science, there always has to be some follow-up, or law enforcement, there has to be some result from an action?
Maybe I can answer it this way. There's no such thing as a truth, there's only such thing as a fact. And a fact is only a fact until we've unproven it and find something else. I forget, there's a name I'm sure for it after somebody from Galileo's time or something. But we revolve around the sun. We all say we know that now, but there was years ago where they thought that the sun revolved around us. Things changed, and then they found a new fact. We may find another fact that turns out we revolve around something in the Milky Way, and the sun is just a secondary or tertiary thing. We're getting very off the topic and deep here, but I like this kind of stuff. So
just wondering, yeah.
Come up and ask me that.
In terms of findings that you could not determine what species, whether it was human, animal, it was the line was too blurry.
Oh, I can tell human versus animal. That part's easy.
You can, okay.
That part's easy. Animals, though, being a zooarchaeologist as well, because I consider myself a zooarchaeologist. Animals are a little harder to peg, but if you've got a good field guide, it's much easier to narrow it down to, this is a moose, or you can go by size too. I know what body parts they look like, what the phalanges look like, which is the finger bones, or the carpals or the tarsals, which are the leg bones and stuff like that. And they look completely different in different animals, and that's how we identify them. It's the pattern that we look at. So we can still identify things.